Hi, everybody. Terry Hardy, Ride for Change, Ride for Hope Foundation, and World of Soul, of course. I am in the Bronzeville community here in Chicago and just happened to stop off at the Bronzeville Historical Society. I've got sitting with me here the executive director, Miss Sherry Williams. Sherry, please introduce yourself and tell them who you are and what do you do.
Hello, everyone. I am Sherry Williams, as I've been introduced, and I'm certainly so happy to meet new friends and uh, connect with those who may even know me. I'm really hoping that anyone that is listening in and watching this incredible video will reach out to us soon. We're moving into a new space at 4455 South King Drive, Suite 103. So the Bronzeville Historical Society finally has a permanent home. We moved around a bit, moving from Pullman State site to the Douglas Tomb site to Illinois Institute of Technology, and finally we have rested where we should be, and that is in the Bronzeville community. So we have 5,000 square feet. The scene behind you is part of what we're working on to get things ready for this beautiful summer that we're now facing. And we hope that you will come and take advantage of the fact that we have a podcast room. So a lovely place where people can record their stories, talk about their migration, talk about family life, talk about those recipes that you might have, and share widely. So certainly keep us in mind when you start thinking of those things that you want to document.
And Sherry, thank you for that. Tell us about the significance of the Bronzeville community where you're located now.
So I tell people Bronzeville is like no other place in the world.
How so?
Well, you've got the birth and explosion of jazz can be attributed to not only having Satchmo here, but also having other jazz greats, King Oliver and others. The explosion of gospel, not just through the lens of Thomas Dorsey, but so many other greats, Albertina Walker, I could go on and on in terms of the music explosion.
I'm kind of lighting up
Yeah,
as
yeah.
as you say that.
And
We take that for granted.
Electric blues.
Absolutely,
When you think
absolutely.
it all exploded right here in Bronzeville, when you think in terms of Muddy Waters, living on 43rd and Lake Park and having clubs in the community as well.
All right here.
All right here in one community. So we can attribute the explosion of these music genres to the birthplace being right here in Bronzeville.
So when we talk about the Great Migration, explain that what the Great Migration was and the role that the Bronzeville community had in facilitating African American life here in Chicago.
I think most of us have at least heard of the movie Raisin in the Sun, or the play, or the book. And in terms of that timeline for how we look at how did people get so concentrated in one community, that play and that movie is an example of how the fortitude of those who put their money together. Many of us who moved to Chicago moved into Bronzeville not because it was the most desirable place, but certainly because of racial covenants, that those restrictions that prevented blacks from moving outside of boundaries.
Segregation.
Oh yeah, and they were written into legalese as well. So there were state laws that prevented African Americans from moving outside of boundaries, and racial restrictions were also due to how real estate companies also had their redlining in order to contain us into this black belt.
Now, I recall as a young child, because I lived in Bronzeville too at one time, that it was a vibrant community economically. Tell us about your thoughts as it relates to today's economy in Bronzeville and the impact of desegregation as a result.
Well, we know that certainly when we lived side by side to each other, we also were able to barter, sell, exchange, grow from each other. So that kept the community vibrant. So you would have the girls. I'm sorry, the baker. You'd have the doctor. You'll have the shoe shine boy. You'll have the Chicago Defender newspaper boy. Everyone lived side by side to each other. And so all of this melting pot of energy and fortitude and tenacity we continue to thrive because of the fact that we bought and sold from each other. And so, you know, it was not uncommon for mothers who remained at home still had other jobs that they were doing. They were entrepreneurs. So only, you know, a woman at home didn't mean that her sole position was to take care of the family and the household. You know, many families that I've interviewed, just as my mom did, my mom made soap, quilts, cha-cha, jelly, jam, wine.
Cha-cha.
She fished all the time. My father was a hunter. And so these were ways in which people brought income into the household. We had 5 acres in Momence, Illinois, so we grew our own greens and, you know, okra and tomatoes and everything. So when we would harvest, we would bring those things back into the community, and then you would see this barter and exchange that would take place between neighbors, between friends. And so we kept the economy growing and we kept the economy vibrant because of the fact that we bought from each other and we respected each other's skills.
So, that being the case, there are some lessons to be learned based upon our history here in Bronzeville, where we come from, where we are, and give us some thought to where we're going and how we're going to get there. You know, we have a focus on education with Ride for Change, Ride for Hope Foundation. Of course, this is education all around us with what you have here. But not to get into that, I would want to keep it brief, but actually see, do you have a gem that you could share with us while we're here? Something that you could show us that the public hasn't seen?
I do.
Show us something.
I have something. And it is a very important picture.
Should I follow you?
I'll bring it to you.
Okay, we're going to wait there.
Yeah.
So while Sherry is waiting, the Chicago Historical Society has made some progress, as she's mentioned. They moved into a new facility here on the south side of Chicago, which is on South King Drive, adjacent to the Chicago Defender newspaper. Chicago Defender newspaper was the largest African-American newspaper founded by Robert Abbott. And what do we have here? Look at this. Look at this.
So could you imagine, I purchased a home many years ago, of course, with my family at 4538 South Forestville. And the house had been boarded up for a few years and it was vacant. And of the things that were inside, this was one of many photographs that was found inside of the house. And so my daughters became detectives in finding out who this gentleman is. And so there were very few clues on the photograph. On this, actually it's a portrait. And the clues that were here were the buttons that were there, and then right at the edge there you could see sort of a badge right there.
So what does that signify?
So I ended up sending it to folks who know what kind of uniforms existed, say in the 1880s and 1890s. And they decided that this was a uniform of someone that worked as a customs officer. And clearly this is an African-American man. And so when we asked the National Archives to tell us, give us a list of all of those who had worked for customs office, they found this gentleman to be Richard S. Brown.
Richard S. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And dating back to when?
So he got sworn in as a customs officer in 1871. So we're talking just 6 years following the end of the Civil War. And he was appointed the duty as a customs officer for a port in Boston. So he was at a lighthouse. And later I discovered that he advocated for his grandchildren to be the first to integrate not only elementary schools in Boston, he lived in Roxbury, but he also advocated for them to integrate one of the nearby roller skating rinks. He later also advocated for having his grandson to enter into MIT. So that is like a huge accomplishment, and all of these things we found just after realizing who this gentleman was, Richard S. Brown.
Richard S. Brown. Awesome, Sherry. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you very much. Tell the folks how they can reach you, how they can stop by and take advantage of all you have to offer here, and whatever else you'd like to leave the people with.
So Thursday through Saturdays are our working hours. We're here from 11 until 4. Those who'd like to have personal conversation with me about genealogy or just finding out, does your house have a history, or do you have something that you'd like to find out more about, an object or image, give me a call. You can reach me by telephone, or you can email me at bronzevillehistoricalsociety@gmail.com. And feel free to send me any inquiries about your coming and sharing some storytelling with us as well. I really look forward to it.
Sherry, thank you so much for allowing us a moment of your time and welcoming us into the Chicago Bronzeville
No one's ever seen
Historical
this.
Society.
So this is a first for folks to see.
Thank you for giving us that first. You hear it. You saw it here first with World of Soul. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day.